Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. We cover every single Big Ten team, doing every single Big Ten game in Week 3, previewing them. I am JR, talking every Big Ten game in Week 3. The first half of this episode will start with some of the lower tier games, some of the FCS opponents, the ones that don't have any odds, things like that. And then the second half of the episode, we'll get into the big matchups. We're talking about Wisconsin, Alabama, Minnesota, Cal, and the mighty Ohio Bobcats traveling to Ohio State to face off for a playoff matchup considered to some. We'll get to that in the second half of the episode. But I have the one, the only, the guy who is really contemplating that $100 million donation to the Big Ten Huddle, Zack Guggenheim.
Listen, do you ever want to just jam out to the intro music? I don't know why I got a little wiggle in my step right now. It's good. Yeah, I'm still waiting on that 100 mil. It's not coming.
Oh, you're waiting on it. We're waiting on it from you.
Okay. You mistook my last name. You thought I was part of the Guggenheim Museum, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, is that
yeah,
right?
No, it's not that one. Not that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's really unfortunate. Yeah, we were gonna call the podcast the Big Ten Huddle Guggenheim, the Big Ten Guggenheim. That's what we're gonna call the podcast.
Oh. I mean, I could give you $100 to do that.
No.
Okay, all right.
Not enough. Not worth it enough. That's only gonna pay for 2 months of StreamYard.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, don't do that.
All right, we're going to have a really fun episode. Like I said, previewing the Big Ten games. It's going to be a great time. Let's see who we got with us here before we get started. We got Road Dust. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Road Dust. We're talking some Indiana. Pretty close off it. What'd you say?
I just said good evening, Robe Dust.
Yeah. Oh, Robe Dust.
Robe Dust. Sorry.
Dust. And look who we got here. Asian Posh Doreen. Doreen, thanks for being here. Go check out Doreen's show. She has it, I believe, right before our show. Is it 8 o'clock, Doreen, on the Voice of College Football? Her and what's her name? Is it Penny? Nebraska fan. They do a good job over there. I always catch it after the Big Ten Huddle. So great job, Doreen. Go check out her show over there. And look at that, Doreen coming in with the Hey Friends Ohio U party this Saturday. Go Bucks! Yeah, Athens is gonna be popping. They're gonna be really, really excited for this game. So yeah, we appreciate it, Doreen. All right, not too many people in the chat yet. I'm sure they will flow in. But while we wait for them, Zach, let's get to the Big Ten games this weekend. So like I said, we'll start with the kind of smaller games, I guess you would say, with the teams that are not really facing anybody. So let's start with the Friday matchups. The first Friday matchup are those Indiana Hoosiers facing off against the Indiana State Sycamores. Now, I got to be honest. I live near Bloomington now. I lived near Terre Haute before I moved near Bloomington. So I mean, I'm torn here, Zach. If I have bias, I don't know how much bias I have in this one because I'm rooting for both teams here. Should I be rooting for both teams? You think Indiana State has a chance? Zach, what are your thoughts?
Does Indiana State have a Larry Bird equivalent for football on their roster?
No.
Infinity nothing. They're going to keep scoring. The Hoosiers are going to keep scoring. And Curt Cignetti is going to have that same look on his face because it's not going to be enough for him.
Will Indiana do to Indiana State what Minnesota did to Northwestern State, where they just give up in the final 6 minutes?
I think it could be so bad that they run out of fireworks, just like Minnesota.
Yikes. Well, Indiana, this is your warning. Make sure you have enough fireworks to score infinity, according to Zach.
Yes. Although, to be fair, Indiana has paid their coaches better. So I have more confidence that they will have the right amount of fireworks.
That's good. Yeah, I will say Indiana State does have a pretty good offense this year, so it will be a nice little test for the defense. And obviously not too much of a test. This is an FCS school that lost 45-0 against Purdue last year when Purdue was one of the worst Purdue teams I've seen in my lifetime. And so this Indiana State team is not going to present much of a challenge. Honestly, if you're an Indiana fan, in my opinion, you're looking more at the defensive line than anything in this game, wanting to see the dominance and the production out of them. Zach, the defensive line so far this year, between all of them, they only have 2 sacks. Now, I'm not too concerned about it because Mikael Kamara, he really came on more in the middle of the season than the beginning of the season last year, and I can see that probably happening again. But definitely, if I'm an Indiana fan, I feel better about my offensive line, but I'm going to want to start seeing the defensive line get a little bit more production this season.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, against Old Dominion, they were playing a mobile quarterback. And I think teams this time of year, they're trying to get the ball out quick. So I think where you're really going to see, where is this defensive line really is in 2 weeks, or not in 2 weeks, in next week against Illinois. Like that's, I don't think you can really put too much stock into what they do against these first 3 teams. They're so bad. The Kennesaw States and Indiana State. It's just, it doesn't give you a good analysis because they're always trying to get the ball out quick. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal if they don't have any sacks after this game. I think what really matters is, have they figured out how to put pressure so that when they go up against Illinois, they're able to replicate that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I mean, this is not a game where you're concerned about Indiana losing it all. This is a game where right before Illinois, you want to see the stuff you've been searching for. And Robe Dust, he says that, he wants to see better timing on routes and the D-line, more physical and getting pressure on the quarterback. Exactly right. I mean,
yep.
It's more so just the connection between Mendoza and, the receivers than anything else, but all of that entails the timing on the routes and everything else. So, I mean, it's been a very similar start to what we had last year. And then you face Western Illinois, you beat them 77 to 7 or 10 or something like that. They were 77 to nothing, maybe. I forget what it was. So if history repeats itself, this is going to be another absolute blowout, and it's going to look like a fully functional Indiana Death Star that nobody's going to want to play.
Infinity, nothing.
Yeah, infinity, nothing. So, all right. In this game, you're going to have Friday night, 6:30 at Big Ten Network. There's no odds on it on FanDuel or anything. Tyler Morris continues to be out. Bryson Bonds and Byron Baldwin. There is a little bit of thought that Byron Baldwin might come back soon. He might see a little bit of time in this one, but from everything I read, it sounds like he's going to be out and not playing in this one. And I don't know why you'd risk him either. Yeah, if Byron Baldwin is somebody you need, save him for Illinois, save him for another one of those games.
Yep.
So,
yep.
All right,
keep him
Zach,
out.
Let's move on to the UCLA New Mexico game. So UCLA going up against New Mexico. New Mexico is 2-0. They start off 1-1. They started off losing to Michigan this season, and it was a good performance, I think, for New Mexico in this one. They beat Idaho State by 10 points last week, so nothing super crazy there. But, I mean, UCLA should have no problems in this one. Mm-hmm. They have, some injured players, but they've been out pretty much for a while. It's nothing been new. Rico Flores, number of wide receivers that are out, Carter Shaw, guys like that. But they play at 10 o'clock on Friday Eastern time. UCLA is favored by 15.5 with an over-under 52.5 on FanDuel. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I think we learned just how bad or good UCLA is in this game. Because I don't have a ton of confidence that this is going to be a UCLA win. Right? They have not shown much. They struggled against UNLV. I mean, they were getting blown out by UNLV. They made a bit of a comeback by the end.
Has Dan Mullen. UCLA has no part of being in the Big Ten if they lose this game. This is New Mexico. New Mexico is not a good football program right now.
And I agree, but they do have some good talent that transferred in. Their running back's fairly good. Their quarterback's pretty good. We saw that against Michigan. And that's my concern, honestly, for UCLA. New Mexico, that score with New Mexico and Michigan is a little misleading, the 34-17. Michigan, I thought for the most part was far superior. But I am concerned because you're 0-2. You have you got blown out by Utah. You struggled for most of the game against UNLV. This is one of those games that I look at where I'm like, UCLA, should they win? Absolutely. Should they win by multiple scores? Absolutely. But how does this team handle the emotions that they've gone through? That's my big question. I think UCLA wins, but I actually have it as a 1-point game. UCLA wins 31-30.
Yeah, I can't see it being a 1 point game. UCLA has to win this one more convincing than that. And I think Nico Iamaleava is still a really, really good talent. I think more production, more timing with the receivers is going to help. I have UCLA winning this one 38-21. I do think New Mexico puts up some more points and stuff. They do have a pretty good rushing attack. And um, I just. I am going to be even lower on UCLA, which I don't even know if it's possible if this game is any closer than a touchdown. It's going to be absolutely depressing if that happens.
I don't. Just to be fair, if UCLA is in their right minds, I agree with you, but I'm kind of banking on the mental hangover.
Yeah, I mean maybe we did. They were bought in last year though with Deshaun Foster when things started going south, right?
Yeah, but how are they responding with Nico is my question. And I think that's the big wild card. If is Nico locked in? If he is, then I think you're right. Like I think it's probably a cover. I think it's probably over. It's probably 2 to 3 scores. But like, is what if Nico's like, I made a huge mistake and I'm ready to check out? Like that's where I get concerned. And we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if there was indication of that happening, but I mean, I'm not seeing any indication of that. He was still playing hard at the end of the game. I know he threw that pick to lose the game for him, but yeah, I don't know. I think I need to see that before I start baking it into my predictions.
That's fair. I think
Yeah,
it's fair.
so. All right, next one is Central Michigan at Michigan. Michigan coming off the loss to Oklahoma, and they're not looking like a very healthy team right now. Zach, of course, Davis Warren is still hurt, a couple of other guys, but Marlon Klein was out in that one. Giovanni El-Hadi got hurt. Rod Moore is still out, and then Zeke Berry is out as well. I will say, from the way Sharon Moore talked today, it does sound like Klein, Rod Moore, and Zeke Berry will all be back for this game, but he did not sound super confident in Giovanni El-Hadi, which I'm not saying is necessarily the worst thing in the world because you do have Nebraska coming up soon, and you got Biff Poggi as the head coach in this game. Zach, what's your thoughts on Michigan in this one against Central Michigan?
I would be a little bit more concerned if they weren't playing Central Michigan, but they're playing Central Michigan. Central Michigan lost to Pittsburgh 45-17 in the opener, and then they beat San Jose State 16-14. Sorry, they beat Pittsburgh, or they lost to Pittsburgh in week 2. In their season opener, they beat San Jose State 16-14. I have a hard time believing that Michigan or that Central Michigan keeps this close. I wonder if they try to open the playbook to get Bryce Underwood more reps as a passer. So I've got 45-7. I know that's high, but I just don't think Central Michigan is as good as New Mexico, and I could see this getting ugly.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm there. I mean, like they did put up 34 points on New Mexico, but I just don't know if I see that from this Michigan offense. They're going to have to show me they can really explode to get over 40 points at some point this season. And this defense, Zach, has not been as good as, people people made it out to be. I said before the season that I was really concerned that the Michigan defense was going to be worse this season, and Michigan fans were not very happy with me. They talked about, Rashawn Benny and the defensive line, and now the defensive line didn't even get pressure on John Mateer last game. I mean, it was not consistent. They got some, but it was not consistent, and that was supposed to be the best part of this defense. So I'm not picking Michigan to lose by any means, but I do think that Michigan's offense could get scored on a couple times in this game, and it's going to be a convincing enough win to where Michigan fans are not super concerned, but it's not going to be a convincing enough win where they're like, okay, we're building on something here, we're ready going into Nebraska. I still think there's going to be concern. I only have Michigan winning this game by 34-10, which to some teams is like, only by that? Well, yeah, this is Michigan. They expect to go to the playoffs this season. They expect to, compete for national championships there. I don't know if that would be my expectation for Michigan. I was expecting them to go 8-4, 9-3, somewhere in that range there. But Michigan fans are not shy about telling you, at least they weren't at the beginning of the season, that they expect to be back to the playoffs. That last year was a rebuilding year, and this is the year they get back to the playoffs. But I'm not sure if I see that happening, number one. And number two, I'm not sure I see a blowout here. I could see this game being 2 scores at halftime and then Michigan pulling ahead a little bit more, but nothing super substantial.
My only pushback to that is if you look at Central Michigan's personnel, it really does not favor the Chippewas. Like, their quarterbacks are Joey Labus and Angel Flores. Joey Labus of Iowa fame. So, I mean, they don't really have a passing attack. And like, I think if the defensive line is good at something, I think it's defending the running game, particularly the straight running back runs. Like, I think quarterback runs, John Mateer had a great game running the ball, but the Chippewas don't really have a run threat at quarterback. And like, they scored 16 against San Jose State. They scored 17 against Pitt. And I just don't, I get what you're saying, and I think this actually has less to do with Michigan. I do think they're going to try to open it up, but I think it has less to do with Michigan and more to do with how bad Central Michigan is. Like, their passing attack, they are averaging less than 90 yards passing per game.
Sounds like a low scoring game where both teams are going to be running the ball a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I just, like, even just looking at the box score of Pitt, Central Michigan, I was wrong. They did have 177 pass yards. It's just Joey Labus had 89, but still, I could see where Central Michigan turns the ball over and it gets bad quick. So,
all right, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, it would obviously be huge for Michigan if they're able to get a big blowout win here and still some more confidence going into that Nebraska game, and especially if you have Rod Moore back, that's going to help that defense a lot. But if I'm a Michigan fan, I want to see as much pressure on the quarterback as possible in this one because it just didn't feel like you saw enough in the game against Oklahoma. So. Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, please do like and subscribe to the show here. We appreciate you doing that. If you're on YouTube, if you're on podcast, go ahead and follow the show over there as well. And tell a friend about the Big Ten Huddle. We cover every single Big Ten team here. That's our goal. And we would like for as many people to know about the show as much as possible. So tell a friend, share us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those places. And let people know that this is their one-stop shop for all thing Big Ten football. And then we have a basketball channel we're going to get to once basketball season starts up as well. You can go check that out. All right, Zach. Houston Christian at Nebraska. Honestly, there's not much to say here. I feel like Nebraska's reeling at this point. Only thing I have to say is that Matt Rule's little, leaked speech, I don't know if it was actually leaked, but, whatever. His speech came out, and listen, that's exactly what I want my coach saying. He's talking about the standard. He's talking about everybody needs to live up to it. Matt Rule is just a fantastic college coach, and I would have him be the coach of my team any day of the week. He's a fantastic college coach. He gets it. He holds players to a certain standard, and I love it. I think Nebraska's got a really good season coming for him, and I think your score prediction is going to be very apt for the way this game plays out.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Infinity nothing.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. So, Dylan Raiola, another really good game for him. You think they sit him early? What do you think?
I would imagine they will. The longest he will go is like mid third quarter.
Yeah, I think their goal is probably going to be to get him out at the end of the first quarter. Like I could see Nebraska being up 21.
First quarter?
Yeah, they got Michigan next week, man.
I think they're going to try to get him a little bit more work than that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I could see that. I could see him pulling him really, really early because of Michigan next week. And not just him, the other starters as well.
Do you think though that could backfire? Like you almost like you're not ready. If you're like, I would think you give him at least a half.
I mean, maybe. We'll see what happens with Minnesota this week, but the same thing happened with Minnesota when they were killing Northwestern State. Drake Lindsey went out in the first quarter, so.
That's fair.
That's
very fair.
No odds on this one either. It's going to be Saturday, 12 o'clock on FS1, and I have Nebraska winning this one 66-0. So, all right, next one, Towson at Maryland. Maryland in this one is going to be playing on Peacock at noon on Saturday. Maryland does have quite a number of guys that are going to be out in this game. Justin Martin, you got guys like Bryce Jenkins on the defensive line. Some of these guys have been out for a while now, but I don't think that's really going to impact things at all. I still have Maryland winning big in this game. Mike Locksley has held his opponents in the first 2 games of the season. I shouldn't say just him. Maryland has held their opponents to less than 10 points in the first 2 games of the season for the first time since 2003. You think about how well Mike Locksley has done in the out of conference, and he's doing even better this time. Maybe not so much with the offense. Only 20 points last game. It was not the best coaching job Mike Locksley's ever had, but I'm not too concerned about it in this one with Towson. I have Maryland winning 45-7.
Yeah, I think they make it 3 straight in terms of holding teams under 10 points for sure. I do wonder how they will work on getting Malik Washington reps in this game. Because I think that, especially as they start to head into Big Ten play, right, they go to Wisconsin next week. That's a huge swing game for their schedule. Because if they can catch Wisconsin after they play Alabama and somehow win that game and go into their bye week 4-0, and you have Washington at home, you could make an argument that really sets them up well to at least make a bowl game. But I think they've really got to work out some kinks still. And this is obviously Towson is the type of team that you want to work out the kinks. So I think it'll be a little sluggish in the beginning, but I'm similar to you, JR. I've got 38-6.
Yeah, I think the Maryland defense this year is going to surprise some people. They've got some really good young guys, and I think that natural athleticism that they have is really going to help them out. I think obviously, Maryland's not going to do any better than probably 6 or 7 wins this season, but I would not be super surprised if they get to 6 wins if Malik Washington continues to get better as the season goes on, and those young defensive ends and Zahir Mathis and Sidney Stewart, they continue to develop and really get some pass rush on some of these Big Ten quarterbacks. I think you could see a really interesting thing happen here with this Maryland team. And like you said, I mean, they get Washington at home. I think Washington's a better team, clearly, but Washington faced Rutgers last year on the other coast, and it was a difficult game for them. So who knows? I mean, this travel stuff is no joke.
Yep.
So, all right, let's move on to, we have Penn State, Villanova. There's no odds on any of these next few that we're doing, so no odds on this one. 3:30 on Saturday on FS1. Penn State, a number of guys out. It seems like James Franklin's being pretty cautious here, but nobody super big of note or anything. Chaz Coleman was fantastic in their last game. I look for him to keep getting some run there. I think that's really, really encouraging for Penn State because I did have have some concern about Zariah Fisher on the other side of that defensive line. Looks like you got Chaz Coleman, who's going to continue to develop. Really nice that Penn State's playing this little bit easier schedule to start because it gives Chaz Coleman that time to show that you can trust him. And I think he could have another good game against Villanova in this one. And I'm looking for Penn State to start as quickly as possible. I want to see those starters out of the game at halftime. I want to see them playing, fast and free, confident, so that way when they're going into this Oregon game, there's no question that these are two powerhouse teams that are going to be facing off in Happy Valley.
Yeah, I think that's the key in this game is getting Aller and those receivers, and I think the offensive line, the run game, smoothing out some of the kinks so that when they bring the Ducks in a couple weeks, they're ready to roll. They cannot, I repeat, they cannot play like they did against FIU last week.
They won't. This is Villanova.
Well, but I mean, like they have to iron out those kinks for in 2 weeks, because if they do that against Oregon, they will lose, and they will lose badly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole scenario with Penn State is very, very interesting right now, and I mean, there's certain coaches I kind of have a gripe with right now. If you can't tell by some of my videos and some of my comments lately, James Franklin is one of them. But there's just certain scenarios right now with this Penn State team that I just want to see him start fast and get it over with. I want to see him win this game 49-0. Even the backups, I want to see it in there against Villanova, just absolutely dominating. Preferably, I'd like to see 70-0, a Grambling versus Ohio State repeat. But I don't think that's necessarily James Franklin's style. I think he's gonna probably let up and just try to get out of there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note, Villanova tends to be a pretty good FCS team, which that's not necessarily important to note for the first half when the starters are in. But I think when the backups are in for Penn State, I think you could see things where you're like, how could they have moved the ball like that? And I have a shutout still, but Villanova's a decent FCS team.
Yeah, I mean, they are. You're correct. It's just Penn State.
They're FCS.
It's an FCS team. If you're Penn State, it shouldn't matter if they're decent or not. Take care of business,
Sure. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if with the backups in, you see a little bit more.
Right. I'm just saying for Penn State fans, it shouldn't matter if it's bad or good FCS team. You should throttle this team.
Yeah.
All right, Rutgers is next. Rutgers is facing Norfolk State. No odds again. Saturday at 3:30 on Big Ten Network. Got a few guys out. Danton Chin. I believe is how you pronounce his name. He is doubtful to return for this one. Samuel Brown still out. A couple other guys that are out in this one. I got Rutgers winning this one 38-3. I just think Athen Kaliakmanis and these wide receivers are going to, be out there and really taking care of business early. And then again, this is another team that has a big game coming up against Iowa. And I think that Greg Schiano, with his history, he's going to make it his goal to get those guys out of there as quickly as he can, rest them up, get them ready for Iowa next week, because that's going to be a huge game for Rutgers this year. And Iowa is a team that, I'm not saying that they're not a good team or anything, but with some of the offensive woes they've had lately, and Rutgers with their offensive upside, it's a game where Rutgers could give Iowa a really good battle in this one and ultimately maybe win.
Yep. I might be going on a limb here because I agree with you. I think they win big. I've got 52-3. And part of my reason is the way that Rutgers is playing offense right now. More of a pass first team. I mean, they've got good running backs, but you've got those receivers. Ian Strong, KJ Duff, missing one of their three receivers. I always forget their third receiver. I'm forgetting who it is.
DT Sheffield.
DT Sheffield, that's right. Good backs. Athen Kaliakmanis is, I think, playing really well right now. And Norfolk State is bad. I mean, they lost to Towson 27-7. Like, this is not a good team. And so I just, like, they beat Miami of Ohio by 28. I would not be surprised if it's ugly by halftime.
Yeah, I could see Rutgers winning this one, like 35-0 at halftime, and then Greg Schiano just puts the backups in and just tells them, like, just run the ball. We're not really doing anything in this one.
Yep.
Just get out of here, type of deal.
Yep.
So, all right. We do want to remind you of Big Jeff's Insights on Thursday night. You can come over there and check us out. Big Jeff is going to be looking at the AP poll, and then he's going to be looking at the FanDuel National Championship odds and trying to compare that, looking at a less biased version of the top 25, trying to compare it with some of the FanDuel top 25 National Championship odds. So be sure to check us out for that one. It's going to be a good time, and we'll have fun in that episode. And he's also going to be a little bit more brief, but still talk through his big 5 games of the weekend that he's looking for and his predictions for all of them as well. So come on over Thursday night, 9 p.m. to hear me and Big Jeff talking about it all. Okay. Zach, Youngstown State at Michigan State, no odds once again. This one's at Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Big Ten Network. Could think about maybe a bit of a hangover after this one, right? Big emotional win at home for Michigan State. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think it's something to look for. And then I do think you need to look out for this Youngstown State offense as well. I think his quarterback's name is Brigard. He has over 400 rushing yards on the season already, so he's a very shifty quarterback who could give the Michigan State defense some issues, sort of like how Ohio gave Rutgers some issues. So if Michigan State is not dialed in on this one, you could see a bit of a close game at halftime, but ultimately I think Michigan State's offense pulls ahead and their defense gets it in order in the second half. I have Michigan State winning this one 35-13.
Yeah, I think our scores are pretty similar. I think you're right. I think they pull away later. I've got 45-10. And part of I do think they want to get Childs more reps to get him more experience so that he continues to be just more polished. And I think we've seen that pay dividends against Boston College. I think we saw it in the first game. That's what I think the strategy is for Jonathan Smith. I think it'll be at least 3 scores, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Like we said with Penn State, it's an FCS team. You should be able to do it. And you know what? I got my eggs in the Michigan State basket right now because I just ranked them in my top 25. So Michigan State, don't make me look stupid, please. Okay?
Yeah,
blow out this team.
Don't make JR look stupid. That's the slogan of this podcast.
Yes, I went out on a limb for you. I have advocated for you. I have gone against the stupid SEC, the stupid Eastern Conference, and I need you to please not embarrass me.
Is that a new shirt idea? The stupid Eastern Conference?
Yeah.
Do you think they'd come? Do you think they'd come after us for that one too?
If we use the logo, yes. If not, maybe not. We'll see.
Don't make JR look stupid. I like that. I like that one as a shirt better.
Yeah. Just don't make me look stupid. All right. Let's see. Western Michigan at Illinois. So this one does have odds. Illinois favored by 27.5, over under 50.5 on FanDuel. You can catch this one Saturday night at 7 p.m. on FS1. Illinois, not too many guys out. They do have their running back and Jaheim Clark. So John Forster and Jaheim Clark both out. They believe they've been out, so no new news there. But I have Illinois. I don't think they're going to have the high. I think Brett Bielema has these guys laser focused. No team has really struggled with Western Michigan this year. We saw, Wisconsin play against them. I don't think anybody's going to struggle with Western Michigan here. I think that Illinois is going to take care of business and win this one. 42-10.
You meant Michigan State, not Wisconsin, right?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah. I agree. I do think this is one of those games that Brett Bielema can really work on the run game, which has really struggled, especially against Duke. I think this is an opponent where you really start to work on your running scheme. Make sure that your running backs understand where plays are supposed to go, where cutback lanes are, working with the offensive line to get better push up front. But at the end of the day, I'm right there with you. I've got 38-9.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's accurate. We'll see how Illinois does, but like I said, should not have a hangover here or anything like that. All right, UMass at Iowa. Iowa favored in this one by 35.5. Over under set for 42.5. Saturday night, 7:30 on Big Ten Network. Kamari Moulton questionable in this one. We'll see if he comes back. Reese Vanderzee still expected to be out from everything I've heard, and then terrible news today. Addison Estranja, he is out for the rest of the season. The tight end for Iowa.
Ooh.
That's a tough blow to their passing game. And Mark Gronowski's life continues to not be so easy for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Definitely easier in this one. UMass is not a good football team, but still, I'm going to look for Mark Gronowski to bounce back in this one. He did improve, like Kirk Ferentz said last game, but I'm looking for him to meet the standard, not just to improve. We'll see if he can do that in this one. Just get over. I mean, it's not even a huge standard. Just if he throws for over 200 yards and a touchdown pass, that's all I'm asking for. It's UMass, okay? It's not that hard. Over 200 yards, one touchdown pass, run the ball well. I will be satisfied and I will feel better about this Iowa passing attack. But if that does not happen, I will not feel great. I think they get it done, though. I have Iowa winning this one 41-0. I don't think UMass scores a point.
I just can't get on board with Iowa scoring 40. By the way, Ryan, thank you for the 2. We appreciate it. He says really 20.5.
Yeah, we'll get to Wisconsin here soon. Don't worry, Ryan.
Okay.
I appreciate the $2. That's awesome, and we always appreciate your contribution from you guys.
Yep. Thank you. I don't have Iowa scoring 40. And the Ostrenga injury, that is honestly very sobering, because it's like, well, who do you really go to on that offense then? Vanderzee looks like he's going to be out. They're not going to lose to UMass. I kind of jokingly was like, UMass is going to win. They're not going to win. But I think I just have zero trust in Iowa right now. And so I think they win. I think it'll be like 20-6 going into the fourth quarter. And like they get a couple of junk touchdowns at the end. So I got 34-6, but I just don't. I think people are going to feel blah at this, because they couldn't score more than 34 in Albany. I just don't know. Like you were saying over 200 yards. I'm like, man, I feel like we got to get Gronowski to get over 100 yards. And I'm not trying to criticize that take that you made. It's just like, what do we really expect from this offense?
Well, and I wasn't saying I expected. I'm just saying that would make me feel better. That's what I need to feel good. So, yeah, I mean, listen, they've had worse quarterbacks, and they've done this before against worse teams or against better teams than UMass. So this should not be an issue. To me, more than anything, this is like, do these Iowa players still believe in it? Because if you talk to Iowa fans from last year, they had a problem with their culture at the end of the season last year. I mean, it wasn't put out there as much as it was with Maryland, but there were some culture issues to end the season last year with some of those players, and I think they got rid of those. So I don't think that's going to happen again. But I mean, you do have to bring it up because it happened last year, so it technically could happen again this year. So we'll see what happens. But this is a test game for me. That is Iowa fully, I don't want to say fully invested. Obviously, they're invested, but are they going to come out with their hair on fire, playing hard and trying to get through, this team easily, or are they going to come out slouching and still feeling bad from that Iowa State game? I think a Kirk Ferentz team would not do that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I do think they win 34-6, but I don't love it. I think Troy's comment, I almost disagree with it, because Iowa improved from terrible to bad on defense. I'm not sure they've improved. I almost would say that they've gotten worse.
Well, I mean, Mark Gronowski had better stats though against a better team.
Did he
I mean,
though?
you can't argue that. He
Did
had
he
better
though?
stats. His numbers were better against a better team. He definitely improved.
What? Oh,
Look, I'm down on Gronowski as well, but we got to give him their props here.
I thought he was saying that they've improved from last year, from
no.
terrible to bad, and I was like, that's what I was. Sorry.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm saying from week 1 to week 2 they improved.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We were just talking about different things.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even want to talk about what it was last year to this year. I mean, they definitely have not improved the offense from last year. Last year they had Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
They don't have him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Remember when we had yeah, Troy's clarifying. No, from week 1 to week 2. Okay.
1, week 2.
I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that.
Okay. All right. What did you say? You said you gave your score 34-6.
Yep.
All right. Want to do our SEC picks?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Week 3 upset picks. I went first last time, Zach, and I did not do a very good job. You've been better with the SEC upset picks this year, so your turn to go first.
I'm 1-1. If you had stuck with your guns with South Florida, you would have.
I know.
You would have nailed it.
I know. I should have.
Yeah. I think the one that you picked is actually probably the most likely. So that's my foreshadowing. But I think Arkansas is a little under the radar. They've dominated both teams that they've played. Again, not great teams, but
it was a little slow starting against. Was it Alabama A&M the first game? It was a little slow, but they did end up dominating them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just not sold on Ole Miss. Like they beat Georgia State 63-7, and then they were in a dogfight against
better
Kentucky.
than Vanderbilt did last year.
Diego Pavia for Heisman. They struggled against Kentucky. And I mean, they lost to Kentucky a year ago, so I guess that's improvement. But they lost a lot of talent from a year ago. They struggled against Kentucky, and now they've got to host Arkansas. I just think it's very possible that Arkansas upsets Ole Miss and then gets ranked because it's the SEC.
That does sound like an SEC type of thing to do.
Ole Miss will go down to like 22, and Arkansas will become 20, and there'll be 12 SEC teams in the poll.
Not if the team that I have on upset alert loses this one. I will say Arkansas is, Ole Miss is favored in this one by 7.5 on FanDuel. Even if Arkansas doesn't win, I think this is a good pick for Arkansas to cover. They have what's the quarterback's name? I believe Taylor Green over there, and he's honestly probably one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC this season. I mean, it's not a great year of quarterbacks in the SEC. I heard an SEC show say that the SEC undoubtedly, that was the word he used, has better quarterbacks than the Big Ten this year. And I was just like, who? Like, you got Gunnar Stockton, Joey Aguilar. Like, I know Joey looked good against Syracuse, but like that was a Syracuse team that also struggled against UConn. Like, so, they're still feeling good over there. We'll see how it goes. But I think Diego Pavia and Taylor Green are probably 2 top 5 quarterbacks in your conference. And when that's the case, I just don't know if I believe in the quarterbacks in your conference.
Yeah.
There's going to be 17 SEC teams in the polls next year. Yeah, Tulane's going to get ranked, and they're going to be like, yeah, SEC, right? And it's like, no, they were SEC 40 years ago or 60 years ago.
Yeah.
But they're just going to remember, for all we know, Ole Miss is going to lose and still be ranked up, considering some of the voters right now. Did you see that girl?
Don't get me started.
She's not had a very good day on Twitter. I'll tell you that.
Nor should she have. That's.
I do not condone everything that's been said about her.
But no, yeah. I have deliberately stayed very clear of any comments. So you are right. We should be kind in our feedback, but do better.
Yeah. All right. My pick is. Let me look up what the spread is here. A better host would have been prepared for a time like this. I have Vanderbilt upsetting South Carolina. South Carolina is at home. Vanderbilt destroyed Virginia Tech. South Carolina did not. It's going to be the Lenora Sellers versus Diego Pavia matchup. I think Diego Pavia pulls this one out and he starts running his mouth just a little bit more, talking about national championship. South Carolina, I had them up there too, but I still don't. Like, they got that win, so I had them up there. But I just do not believe in this team from what I've seen. So I moved them down outside the top 20 this past week. I just don't know what anybody sees in this team to think that they are – anywhere near a top 10 team. Maybe they completely blow out Vanderbilt and prove me wrong this week. If they do that, I'll move South Carolina back up there a little bit more. Not to close to top 10, but I'll move them up there a little bit more. But I do not like their wide receivers. I don't think their offensive line is super great. I think they have really good players on their defensive line, but I don't think all of them are really good. So I think you can focus in on a couple of them and be fine. And I think that they struggled too much against Virginia Tech when Vanderbilt blew them out. So, we'll see. Maybe South Carolina gets it with the home field advantage, but they're favored by 5.5 in this one. Vanderbilt underdogs by 5.5. It's an over-under of 48.5 on FanDuel. We'll see what happens, but I don't feel great about South Carolina in this one.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
So, all right, I appreciate it. All right, Zach. Hey, let's go ahead and end the first half of the show here, and we'll get to the second half. I do need to fix the banner for one of the games in the second half because the line has moved since then. So just
boo.
Great news. Yeah, great news.
Boo.
So I'll do that, and then we'll get to it. So anything else, Zach, before we get out of here?
I'm just going to say Bob Larson, good point. The fact I dislike about AP voters is they artificially inflate SEC teams in order to give other SEC teams victories over ranked teams. This is especially true with the selection committee. Facts.
Yeah. Well, and one of the problems is the way they pick these people. They pick these people who cannot actually watch all the games. So I don't necessarily always blame the AP voters. Some of them are at stadiums until, when you're a beat writer, you get to the stadium for a 7 o'clock game at like 2 o'clock during the day. You don't even have enough time to watch one game, but you have to get there early for content to put up for your newspaper, your website, whatever you're working for. And then on top of that, you don't get home until 2, 3 o'clock sometimes. So are you really going to tell me that these people have enough time by Sunday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern time to go watch all the games? They don't. And so the one girl, Haley Sawyer, I think her name was, completely missing that USF beat Florida. I don't think you should miss it, but the fact is she doesn't exactly have a whole lot of time. So yeah, I don't super blame her.
It's a flawed
it's honestly
system.
Just the AP poll. Like the AP News, it's a flawed system by them, like you said.
Yep.
So, all right. Hey, we appreciate you listening to us on the podcast. At this time on the podcast, we are going to head out. You'll hear the big game previews tomorrow. If you're listening here on YouTube, stick with us because we are going to get to the big games here right after this. Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, here talking every single Big Ten team. Not a ton of big games in the Big Ten this weekend, but we do have 5 that we're going to break down for you. We got Minnesota going to Cal, Wisconsin going to Alabama, some conference matchups of USC heading to Purdue and Oregon heading to Northwestern. Do either of these lower tier Big Ten teams have an opportunity to shoot up that power rankings and defeat one of these teams? We'll talk about if there's a possibility of that happening. And then Ohio State and Ohio. Ohio's starting to get a little bit of love as a possible playoff team. Let's talk through that game a little bit, and I got the perfect guy to do it here with me. He would never doubt a Bobcat anytime in his life. He's Zach Guggenheim.
I think we have to remember that 17 years ago, the Bobcat KO'd Brutus.
Yikes.
Bad omens, folks.
Yeah, Brutus has had a very interesting past because I ranked him somewhat high in the offseason when I did my least likely to want to fight, Big Ten mascots, and I got a lot of pushback because of the Bobcat. But back in the 90s, a group of Michigan students ran onto the field and tackled Brutus, and then he beat them with the flag, and then they ran off the field. That's what I remembered of Brutus, but everybody else remembered the Bobcat. So he's had a bit of a contentious past when it comes to the on-field fights.
Listen, my favorite mascot fight was the Duck beating up on the Houston Cougar, back 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. If you go YouTube that thing, the Duck just kicked his butt. It was great. And he also had some attitude. It felt like WWE. It was great.
Some attitude with it. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Did
it.
a little shimmy shake. Be like, come on, man. It was great. It's great. So wait, we have football to talk about though, don't we?
We do. We do have football to talk about. So let's get to the first game here. We have Ohio heading to Ohio State. Now, rest assured, Ohio State fans, I am not saying that Ohio State is in danger of losing this game. I did tweet out that this game feels a little bit like Oregon and Boise State last year. Got a lot of Ohio State fans at me because they think that I'm saying that Ohio has a chance of winning this game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is the type of game for Ohio State that going into the season, you would have thought okay, this is just going to be a nothing game. And I do think it is going to end up being that. But I do think if Ohio goes on throughout the season and plays well in the MAC and Parker Navarro be's the quarterback that we think he can be, I think you could find the Ohio Bobcats possibly winning the MAC this season, 10-2, 9-3, something like that. And if USF falls off or Tulane falls off, you could see this Ohio team vying for a playoff spot potentially. And the MAC is not super strong this year. They have some good teams that we've seen play some Big Ten teams, but there's not a whole lot of great teams in the MAC this year. So Ohio does have a path to get there. So I'm not saying it's going to be a close game. My score prediction will reflect that. But I do think there's an opportunity here for this to look like a better win for Ohio State than maybe it did at the beginning of the season. Am I crazy, Zach?
I think this is the type of game where Ohio State fans will be frustrated at the end. That's my prediction because I think Parker Navarro is going to make some throws. I think he's going to make some plays with his legs where you're just like, why did we let that happen? Why did we let that happen? It's just going to be one of those games. I'm not saying he is DeQuan Finn, but I'm thinking about when we played I'm saying we Big Ten podcast, not Ohio State podcast. Sorry. I had a crisis of identity there for a minute. I think when Ohio State played Toledo a few years back, DeQuan Finn had some plays in that game where you're like, how did Ohio State's defense allow that? And while I don't think Ohio State's defense is as bad as the one that DeQuan Finn played, I do think there are still some questions about the defensive line. And I think Navarro might be, in terms of his experience, the best quarterback they will have faced up to this point. Remember, Arch, he's making his first start. He had made a couple starts before, but they weren't to good teams. Navarro's played a lot of football. He's played two decent teams already, so it's not like he's getting thrown into the fire against a completely different opponent, yes. But he's played two P4 opponents already. So I just don't think he's going to be phased all that much. And I think it's going to be annoying. I think Ohio State covers. I think Ohio State gets rolling. I think Ryan Day continues to open up the offense. But don't be surprised if this is kind of you keep wondering why Ohio State hasn't put their foot on the throat until late third quarter.
Yeah, the line has moved in this one. So earlier today when I made the graphic, it was 32.5. And just right before I checked, because I want to make sure I get the lines right here on screen on FanDuel, Ohio State is favored by 31.5 now. Over under remains at 52.5. I still think that Ohio State covers in this one. I can see what you're saying where like maybe the starters are not out in the second half, right away, like some people might like. I could see Parker Navarro really giving Ohio State fits. They do a really good job with their defensive line of playing contain on mobile quarterbacks. They did a pretty good job of it with Arch Manning for a good amount of the game, but he did get loose a few times. So I do think it's going to be a really good test for their defensive line going against Parker Navarro there. But at the same time, he's not going to have anybody to throw to. This secondary completely locked up Texas and their wide receivers, and I am confident that Ohio does not have anywhere near the wide receiver talent that Texas has. And you watched that game against Rutgers where they were close with them. A lot of it was Parker Navarro doing it with his feet in the second half when he was just like, screw it, I'm going to go run every single time. So I don't have any concerns here about Ohio State losing the game. I don't really have any concerns about the game being close. I'm going to pick this game to be 49-10 for Ohio State. I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take for Ohio State to cover. But I would not be surprised if Ohio State fans come out of this one and they're like, we're having a hard time stopping the quarterback run. The good news is there's not a whole lot of super mobile quarterbacks that are going to be in the playoffs with you this year. Gunnar Stockton, not super mobile. Carson Beck, not exactly super mobile. The Notre Dame CJ Carr, he was okay, but it's not like he's Riley Leonard or anything like that. So there's some guys that have some mobility. Dante Moore can obviously give you some struggles, but I think Parker Navarro's probably going to be one of the most mobile quarterbacks they see this year.
Yeah, 460 yards passing, 180 yards running in 2 games. So he's legit as a dual threat.
Yeah. So what did you have a score prediction you said?
52-17.
52-17. So, all right, good stuff. I think that Arvell Reese is your key in this one. He is super athletic, super, good tracking down the quarterback and everything else, and Caleb Downs as well. So we'll see how it goes. But I think Ohio State wins.
Love it.
All right, Oregon at Northwestern in this one, Zach. The Oregon Ducks favored by 27.5 over Northwestern, who the over-under is set at 49.5. I don't have very many issues, or not very many issues. I don't have very many concerns about Oregon in this one. The series history here is 1-0 Northwestern with the one win back in 1974 when they won 14-10. I do not think it's going to be anywhere near that close of a score or that low scoring of a score in this one. I just think that Oregon has too explosive an offense. I've been really impressed with their wide receivers, how they block for one another. This defense has been insane. There's another defense that's been insane that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But other than the road game here and maybe, some of the Northwestern pass rush giving Oregon some issues here, I'm not super, not super concerned at all for Oregon in this one. Is there any reason for Oregon to be concerned, Zach?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're traveling to Northwestern. So I forget, is this game at Wrigley or is it on the lake?
It's on the lake.
So that's a different environment that could be a factor, right? Preston Stone had that bad game against Tulane, but we know that he has done good things in his past. So is there a chance that maybe he gets it together and puts together a good game against Oregon? There's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I have a higher margin of victory than you do. I have Oregon winning 51-13. I think just going back to Oklahoma State and what Oregon did to them, I mean, they just could not stop the athletic receivers and Dante Moore's precision passing. And I think there's a world where Oregon gets up 45 to nothing at half, and then they pull the starters and they kick a couple field goals, and then Northwestern has some garbage time.
Yeah, I mean, it is a home game for Northwestern, but it's only a 12,000 seat capacity. So even with the home game there, you're really not looking at much capacity, so it's not like this is going to be like Wisconsin or anything like that. Big noon kickoff. The body clock could be a bit of an issue with the game technically starting like 9 o'clock their time. I think the most important thing here for Oregon is to just get the lead and sit on it and go throughout. I mean, I think of the Illinois game from last year, right? When they got up, it was like 31-3, I think it was, and they just basically sat on it. Illinois scored a few more times, field goals, and then it was like, I think the final score there was like 38-9 or something like that. Or, Oregon didn't go and pull an Oklahoma State or anything like that. And I don't think they'll do that to Northwestern here. I really feel like Oregon did that last week because of Mike Gundy more than anything else. I think Dan Lanning is going to be aware of load management, stuff like that. And I have Oregon winning this one 38-10. So, Cam Porter being out, Zach, any thoughts or comments there for Northwestern losing him for the season?
It just stinks, man. Like Cam Porter was he was a warrior for that team. Like I really have a lot of respect for Porter. I mean, I think he's been on that team. I think this is his 6th year. Mm-hmm. And so like he was in the Big Ten championship game as a true freshman in 2020. And so it's just a bummer. Like he's had big moments for them. Good dude. You just hate to see it.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens with Northwestern. But honestly, if Northwestern doesn't get to 10 points in this game, I know it'd be super early to do it, but I've been calling for Zach Lujan to be fired at some point this season. If they don't get to 10 points, if all they get is like a field goal or something like that, I think David Braun's feeling the heat at some point, and he lets go of Zach Lujan. It does suck with Cam Porter, losing him and everything, but even with that, I think David Braun's going to start feeling the heat at some point this season.
You gotta cut loose at some point.
Yeah. So, all right. Next up, we got USC at Purdue. Now, I do have more thoughts on this one. Rest assured, USC fans, I am picking you to win the game. Okay, do not fret. But I do think there are some interesting matchups and things like that to look at for this game. So this is going to be at Ross-Ade Stadium. As we know, in the past, in the Jeff Brom era, Purdue was able to get some big upsets and things. USC is favored in this one, 21.5. The over-under is set at 57.5 on FanDuel. We'll see what happens here. USC leads the series 3-1. They last met in 1998. It was Purdue that won back in 1967 in the Rose Bowl. Great Big Ten, Pac-12 historic matchup there. But I think everybody's going to focus on USC's offense in this one. And I think that everybody is going to focus for Purdue to play really conservative, try to hold on to the ball as long as possible, that kind of stuff. I don't think that's the game that Purdue should play here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but I think this is the game. If I'm Purdue, they've kind of thrown the ball out there a little bit more this season. Ryan Brown has a average depth of target of over 10 this year. If you don't know what that is how far from the line of scrimmage the ball is thrown to. It's not, like the average yards per attempt, because that includes yards after the catch for the receiver and stuff like that. But this is how far they throw the ball. They've been throwing the ball around a little bit more. It's not just been a dink and dunk offense. And if I'm Barry Odom and Purdue, I'm not starting off this game by, just trying to hold on to the ball and play conservative and hope that our defense can stop USC, because your defense is not going to stop USC. I know Purdue's defense has improved. Your defense is not going to stop USC. The only way, to me, Purdue wins this game is if this is a 35-42 game or something, and Purdue is just able to capitalize on mistakes if USC makes them. You better hope and pray that Jada Maiava has a repeat of last year where he starts turning the ball over, and you capitalize on those mistakes. And you also take care of the ball as well. Be aggressive, but if Purdue starts turning the ball over, I don't think there's any way they win this game. So like I said, rest assured, USC fans, I'm picking you to win, but you do need to be aware your secondary has not been outstanding this season, and I do think Purdue has better players than Georgia Southern does, and Georgia Southern was able to move the ball a little bit on the USC defense, so Purdue might be able to as well. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I think the two stats that I think are intriguing to me, and it's on the defensive side of the ball. They have 7 sacks. Manny Powell's got a sack. Charles Correa has a sack. Braylon Charles and CJ Madden and Sanders Ellis all have half a sack. Jamarian Harkless with 1.5 sacks, and then CJ Nunnally with 2. I think that could be a way, at least to steal points, because if you can sack the quarterback and cause chaos back there, then Maeva might throw a couple picks, or he might get a strip sack. Here's the problem: Purdue's played 2 games against overmatched opponents, 0 interceptions, 0 forced fumbles. And so even though they're getting havoc, they're not actually getting turnovers. And so I think that's the big key is if they are able to create havoc back there, at some point it's got to be something that causes a fumble or an interception that goes the other way. But other than that, I agree with you. I think Purdue's got to find a way to score points. I think if they can score 38, they have a shot, but I'm just not sure that they're there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, right? Ryan Brown and being able to throw the ball around. But I also want to see them use Ryan Brown's mobility in this one as well. I think mobility with a quarterback is the great equalizer in college football. I think it's been lessened a little bit the past few years when you've had all the experienced quarterbacks and stuff like that. But especially with young quarterbacks, and it's one of the reasons why I think Michigan probably needs to start running Bryce Underwood a little bit more, not just because of his legs, but also the weapons that he has around him. But I do think that Ryan Brown has the mobility and to really give USC some fits. And USC is a very aggressive defense. They have 3 players who have 2 sacks or more right now on the season, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But if those guys start getting into the backfield and Ryan Brown is able to escape and find green grass in front of him, could be some big plays for Purdue. So again, I am picking USC to win this game. They are going to win 38-21 is my prediction. But I would not be surprised at all. I would not be surprised at all if Purdue puts up a little bit of points in this one and USC fans come out of this saying, okay, glad we won, but need to look at this defense a little bit more. Now, if I'm wrong, USC holds them to 7-10 points. I'll be happy as a clam because I want to see this USC team be good. But there have been some issues. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that, but there have been some issues that have given me concern for this USC's defense.
Yep. I have a similar score. I have 42-17. I think Trojan Fight makes a good note here. 3 guys on USC have 2 sacks each. They're all top 10 in sacks in the Big Ten currently. That's I think going to be another issue is if they can get pressure on Purdue, that makes their life a nightmare.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is like as long as that pressure turns into sacks like it has been, it has been doing that, then they'll be fine. But Ryan Brown has had mobility in the past. Look at that Illinois game from last year, stuff like that. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, picking USC to win. I don't have them covering, but it would not surprise me at all if Purdue only scores 10, 14 points, only even 7 maybe, and USC comes out of this one covering. So,
Gotcha.
All right.
Good.
Zach, Wisconsin, Alabama. This was the one Ryan was alluding to with his super chat. So Ryan, FanDuel does have Alabama by 21.5 in this one. Sorry, we got to use those odds. I'd use the 20.5 if I could, but the over/under set at 46.5 in this one. Zach, I want Illinois. I want Wisconsin to win this game desperately. Okay, and I think that they have an opportunity here, but Alabama looked really, really motivated against University of Louisiana Monroe. They have that sour taste to the Florida State loss. I think this would be better for Wisconsin if they had beaten Florida State, personally.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But the fact that they've lost to Florida State does give me some pause. I am not super high on Alabama's defense. I am never really super high on a Kalen DeBoer defense, but this Wisconsin offensive line has been a little leaky so far this season. Jake Renfro being out is not making me feel much better either. They had to kind of move around the offensive line last game as well. I mean, I would feel so much better about this offensive line if Kevin Hayward was still there, it would make me feel so much better. But he is not there. They've had their issues at left tackle. They moved some things around. We'll see what it looks like against Alabama here. The running backs have been okay, but Danny O'Neal has also been better than we thought he was going to be. I called it after week 1. I said, look, this guy has some juice to him. He has some potential here. And he showed it last game. You're going to need Danny O'Neal to be more than just, move the ball around a little bit guy here. You're going to need to see him throw the ball down the field. They're going to need to get behind the safeties for Alabama. And you're going to need to see a really good game from these wide receivers. And these wide receivers have been really good so far this season. Vinny Anthony, some of these guys, they've been good. The biggest concern for me, though, on the defensive side is some of these cornerbacks. Rico Holman has not been who we thought he could be. Emilio, I think it's A-guard. I love him. He is fast. He is physical. He is violent out there in the secondary. I love that. But, there have been some issues in the secondary for Wisconsin this season. I think it's good because Ty Simpson, is only going through his 3rd start. But I would feel a lot better about this game if Wisconsin was 1 at home and if Alabama didn't lose to Florida State. Sorry, Zach, I talked a lot. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think you're spot on, right? I do think the defense for Wisconsin is going to hold up better than they did a year ago. And I think part of that, too, is like UL Monroe was kind of the sacrificial lamb for Alabama. I do think Wisconsin's going to offer more resistance, but I just don't. As much as Danny O'Neal played okay last week, I don't trust this Wisconsin offense against Alabama's defense. And I particularly don't trust the running backs and the run game to be where it needs to be to give USC issues. So I have them under, and I have Alabama the pick, 24-13 Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key here for Wisconsin is keep the game close at halftime, right? We saw what Wisconsin has kind of been able to do going into halftime a little bit more. They make their adjustments. Now, you could argue that's more of Danny O'Neal and him getting his feet under him a little bit later on. But if this trend holds up with Wisconsin where they greatly improve at halftime and start putting things together, then you go into halftime and it's 21-10. Or something like that. I think you're feeling pretty good as a Wisconsin fan, especially if you get the ball in the second half with what you've seen. The biggest thing for me is don't let Alabama come out early and smack you around and get a big lead. Don't let them get a 21-0 lead or something like that. If
don't
that doesn't go ahead.
I just said, don't let them do what they did a year ago to you.
Exactly. Now, they're not losing Tyler Van Dyke at the beginning of the game. They already have Danny O'Neal, but as long as he stays healthy, I like Wisconsin's chances here to at least cover. I think that there is a path here for Wisconsin to win the game with the passing attack. I think that Alabama could get leaky with their passing attack and maybe not be as good as some people think they could be. And then also, too, I think Alabama could struggle to run the ball in this one, and that might put more pressure on Ty Simpson. This is a really good front seven that we've seen from Wisconsin so far this year. Good job stopping the run. Defense has been nice. Those safeties didn't really show out last game because they didn't really let them. A lot of passes to the side of the to the outside the hashes, so you really couldn't see the safeties do much. But I think the team last week against Wisconsin, they did it on purpose because they know how good these safeties are. In particular Preston Zachman. They saw what he did in the first game against Miami, Ohio. So I'm not going to pick Wisconsin to win, but I am going to pick Wisconsin to cover. I have Alabama winning this one 31-17. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Alabama wins this game. I think Wisconsin has a shot here.
I think that's fair. I'm picking Wisconsin also, though. 24-13.
Also, you said?
Or yes, Alabama. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know if you can tell. It's getting past my bedtime.
It's all right, Zach. We got one more game.
One more.
One more game.
One more. We got one more.
One more game. Minnesota favored by 1.5 at Cal. Over under set at 42.5. This line moved earlier today. It was set at 2.5 in favor of Minnesota, down to 1.5. People are putting their bets in on Cal. I think the week 1 game for Cal gave a lot of people a lot of confidence. I do think that freshman quarterback did a really good job. I'm not going to try to say his name. I'm already terrible with names, but you know who I'm talking about. The really
Is it
long
Saga
ones.
Putulele?
Yes,
Is that how to say it?
Yeah,
Okay.
great job.
But that's my job on this show, is to make pronunciations.
Thank you for doing that, Zach. But I do think that Minnesota is going to keep this game lower scoring than some people think. I've seen some people predicting this game like 31-24. I don't think I see that happening. Minnesota has kept both teams they've played this season to low scores. Obviously, one of them was Northwestern State, but you look at that Buffalo game, it was really just one explosive play that gave Buffalo a score, and they had trouble moving the ball the rest of the game. Now, I know it's Buffalo, don't get me wrong, but I do think that Danny Collins, he's calling the Minnesota defense. He's not trying to come in and reinvent the wheel or anything like that. He's just coming in. He's calling the Minnesota defense, and the travel could be an issue for Minnesota. But overall, as long as we continue to see what we've been seeing from Drake Lindsey and we don't see freshman mistakes, I was watching that Northwestern game early on. Obviously, I only had 9 passes, so it wasn't very long. But Drake Lindsey's making checks at the line of scrimmage. This is a player that PJ Fleck is really going all in on right now. If you're letting him make checks at the line of scrimmage, you're letting him shift protections and stuff like that, I mean, that's huge. And if Drake Lindsey can continue to do that and continue to be that workhorse for him, I think you have a really good shot here for Minnesota to get this win over Cal.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You have the quarterback, you have the running attack, you've got new wide receivers, and you've got the defense, and you have an X factor in Coy Parrish. And I do think you have to be careful of the offense for Cal against Minnesota's defense. Like Sagapulu Tele at quarterback has had a good first couple of games, 46-67 for almost 500 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Raphael, the running back, averaging 84 yards a game, averaging a little over 6 yards a carry. So like they've got playmakers, right? But if you look at Cal, they beat Oregon State and they beat Texas Southern. They have not played a team like Minnesota. And I just think I think Minnesota, what they have travels well, right? Good run game, good defense, and a poised young quarterback. So, and Max is this is a great stat right here. PJ Fleck 3-0 with Minnesota when playing in the Pacific time zone. Impervious. PJ Fleck is more impervious to the Pacific time zone than I am impervious to 10:30 p.m. Okay? Which may not be saying much.
It's not even 10:30 yet, Zach. It's only 10:23.
Shh. Yes, I know. But I think Minnesota has a good team, and it's a good matchup for them. So I like the odds for Minnesota. I think they will slow down Cal just enough. And I think Minnesota actually, I wouldn't say dominates the game, but wins fairly comfortably. But I think Cal gets a score at the end to make it respectable or make it look better than it actually is. I've got 27-24, but I think it's 27-17 late. And I think Cal gets a touchdown to make it 27-24.
Yeah. And I also don't think Cal has seen a defense like this that Minnesota has right now. Minnesota, as per usual, very underrated defensively. They've got good linebackers. Anthony Smith is a dude. He's probably going to be a second-round pick. They're going to continue their first second-round pick streak in the NFL draft after this. But they've got some really, really good players on defense. I know Kerry Brown got beat by that guy in Buffalo, but he kind of fell down. I don't see that happening again. Coy Parrish is out there as well. I think he's probably going to get a pick in this game. And then also Cal. I mean, Zach, did you see what their third down efficiency was against Oregon State in week 1?
I did not. What is it?
Yeah, they had a number of scores obviously in this one, but a lot of those scores were kind of field position and really just kind of taking short fields. I mean, their touchdown drives were 1 play, 2 yards. 3 plays, 0 yards. They had their very opening drive was 8 plays, 73 yards, but this was a game where they were very favorable with field position. If I know anything about
Yeah.
PJ Fleck, he's not going to give up easy field position like Oregon State did. Cal was 2 of 13 on third down conversions
Oof.
against Oregon State. Oregon State had more third down conversions than Cal did in
Yep.
that game. So big thing, PJ Fleck, play PJ Fleck ball. Don't give easy stuff to Cal. And I think you're going to see a lot of good special teams, a lot of conservativeness from PJ Fleck. And I endorse that in this game because I don't think Cal is going to be able to move the ball consistently. Their running back in that game, he only had 41 yards, 10 carries, 41 yards, and they averaged less than 4 yards per carry as a team in that one against Oregon State. So,
Yeah.
and if I just don't think if you couldn't run on Oregon State, I don't think you're going to be able to run on Minnesota either.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
So I got this one. I got the Golden Gophers winning it. Like I said, low scoring game. I think a lot of field position battles and stuff. And I think Minnesota wins this one 17-10. I think they get the lead early. I could see 10-0, something like that, over Oregon State, and then them kind of sitting on it a little bit, and Cal just never really being able to move the ball down the field, and then maybe a pick or something like that late in the game. I could see 24-10 if they get a pick or something, pick six or something.
Yeah. Dave asked, I think, a good question. What quarterback has looked good to you guys going into this game? I love me some Drake Lindsay. I think he looks great. We got some flack for like pumping him up a little bit. Listen, when Quincy Avery is saying you might be a top 3 quarterback in the league, you listen. Okay? Yeah. Quincy Avery knows what he's doing. So I think Drake Lindsay has looked really good. You know, had a couple miscues in the Buffalo game, but I thought he corrected them. And I think his rapport with his receivers, Tracy and those boys, I think that really gives me confidence with him going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these scores and stuff are Tagovailoa. Did I say it right?
I think you got it, yeah.
All right. A lot of these plays for him have been big, explosive plays. So there is possibly some issues there if Kerry Brown, has a repeat of his slip and fall. But I think Drake Lindsay is the more reliable, consistent, move the ball down the field in a consistent manner type of guy. Tagovailoa, I just said poo-poo. Tagovailoa, he's obviously a tremendous talent, but he is kind of what I think you get with some of these young quarterbacks, especially in these big games. I think he's going to try to be throwing the ball down the field a lot. And as we know, PJ Fleck and his coaches, they always do their homework. They always do a good job of being well prepared, at least at the beginning of the games. And I don't think they're going to let him have those. I think that they're going to sit and cover 3, stuff like that, and they're going to make Cal try to drive the ball down the field consistently and take time off the clock. If Cal scores in this one, I think you're gonna need to see 9, 10, 11 play drives for 70, 80 yards consistently, which they, like I said, they did that once against Oregon State, but I don't know if I see it happening multiple times.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, all right. Zach, any other thoughts on Minnesota Cal?
I'm going to need to stock up on caffeine for that game because otherwise I'm going to fall asleep before kick.
Or just record it and you can watch it in the morning. Because you're not doing the Power Rankings episode that night.
No, not definitely not. Yeah,
you won't see Zach until Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm gonna gladly go to sleep.
All right, everybody. Hey, we appreciate you being here. Obviously, hope the Big Ten has a great weekend, and we'll see what they're able to do. But not a ton of huge games, but Minnesota, Wisconsin. Hope you guys have great weeks and can really bring it home for the Big Ten, especially Wisconsin. We need to beat the SEC. After the last loss to them, so get it done there, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Zach, any final thoughts before you get out of here?
Nope. Excited for week 3. Should be good.
should be good. And then we got a big week 4, tons of matchups: Rutgers, Iowa, Penn State, Oregon. A lot of really good matchups in week 4. We're kind of prepping for Illinois, Indiana, of course.
Penn State, Oregon are both on a bye.
Okay,
They're
I
in
apologize.
week 5.
Week 5.
That's all right.
Yes, thank you. It's Oregon State next week.
But Purdue, Notre Dame, big rematch.
I'm not picking Purdue to win that game.
Neither am I.
Okay, good. We learned our lesson.
Yeah, we learned our lesson. We're not doing that again. Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Go ahead.
Who do you think's going to win next week, UCLA or the bye?
UCLA. I'm confident.
I don't know, man. Could be rough.
They will not add a loss to the loss column. I'm confident.
All right. We can agree on that.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. Thank you for listening. 5-star review, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.